What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here, once again with you-know-who,
Gershwan.
and today we're back at it again, answering more questions in another installment of For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get those questions first. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, if you guys like listening to us jabber about Warhammer 40K and other weird shit, you can give us a super thanks. If you do, ask us a question. Put a question in front of your question.
Because we get to those questions first.
Exactly. But we will answer it in the next episode, and we'll make it a thumbnail thingamajig.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we get to the first question, I have a question for you guys. How many of you sit in a room filled with chanting elders as you devour the blood and body of a demigod? If you're Catholic, that's you.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Keep that in mind as we continue on with these questions.
We're so ritualistic.
We are.
Aren't we Catholics amazing? This question comes from @Nicot.9920. If you could rewrite the narrative of your favorite faction, which one would it be?
Unfortunately, it has to be the Tau. I love the Tau. I love the mechs. I love everything about them. But there's one huge thing that I wish they would have done more, and that is implement more Xenos into the actual tabletop. There are tons of Xenos that they are allied with, that they have brought into the greater good, that are really awesome, really unique, and we don't get to see that on the tabletop. It's like no matter what, each edition just gives us Tau being more mechanized, being more about drones, about battlesuits, about technology. And it's cool and all, but just give us that other part. We used to have awesome Kroot sculpts from Forge World. Those have been discontinued. When it comes to Vespid, it's literally just one unit. So it's like, come on. We know the Tau ally with other races, just give us more of that.
Yeah. I agree with that. One thing that I would change is the Dark Eldar, just because the Dark Eldar don't really fit within 40K. 40K seems to be like a game where you can play a shit ton of people on the battlefield, right? Like not epic style, but like you have big armies. It's not a skirmish game. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Dark Eldar, their lore is very skirmishy.
They're
pirates.
Yeah. Piratas del Caribe.
But pirates don't ever get that big, right? There's always going to be. They always feel like kill team.
Well, I think that's the thing with the Eldar. They're meant to be a dying race. There's not many of them out there. Same thing with the Harlequins.
Yeah, but even like with the so Craft World, like Craft World, you see. A Craft World itself, the ship, is as big as the planet sometimes.
Right.
So it makes sense that they're going to send a huge army to counter the Orcs, to counter the Tau, to counter Space Marines. But the Dark Eldar, each one of them are individualistic. Yep. So them sending out an entire army just doesn't like click in my mind. It does click in my mind when I hear like stories of like a pirate or like a Corsair fleet attacking a ship. That makes sense. But why send an entire army-sized like group to destroy when really you don't have those resources?
Yeah, I feel like when that happens though, it's because it's the Archons doing it and they got more pull, more sway.
Yeah. But even then it's just one of those things where it's like they feel more like rogue traders than the Archons feel more like rogue traders than they do a war boss.
Yeah.
What is it called? A chapter master or
I agree
commander.
there. Yeah.
So I would rewrite their thing to be more like empire builders. Like they're actually trying to recreate the old, like lustful, hedonistic Eldar ways within like not just the Webway but on other planets. Mm-hmm. I think if you did that, then they become more like. Then you can add a whole new like twist to them because then you talk about the not pleasure worlds, but you talk about the Dark Eldar worlds that they're creating, where it's like nothing but like sex dungeons and like pain, misery, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I could see that happening. More like I could see myself in that type of situation. But
why not, right? Whips and chain excitement.
Yeah.
Next question.
This one is by Kenny1973. I want to know what happened with Captain Tits. What?
Titus.
Oh, Captain Titus. So Captain Titus is the main character in the Space Marine game. He's a badass. He obviously goes through this whole campaign, kicks butt left and right. And now with Space Marine 2, he has undergone the Primaris treatment. So he's a Primaris Space Marine now. So he's even more badass, more kicky, more punchy, hardy, and we'll get to see that once the game drops in hopefully this year.
Yep. He's a bad mofo.
Yeah, bad Mama Gemma.
Next question comes from Death to the Old Man. How strong is a senior tech priest or a tech priest dominus in the lore? Because on the tabletop, they could pretty easily kill a space marine. So can Gretchen. Well, not easily, but Gretchen can also kill space marines. Mm-hmm. So the fact that one thing can kill another thing on the tabletop doesn't really like reflect the consistency of the lore. What it reflects is that, because it's like that one, I think it was Discovery Channel show where like they do like a samurai versus a Viking.
Yeah, deadliest warrior.
Yeah, 90% of the time the samurai wins or the Viking wins, but that's what like the gameplay is showing. A percentage of the time, the Gretchen will kill a space marine, but most of the time, it won't happen.
Yeah, space marines will just stomp them out.
Yeah, but there's always that grot, that lucky grot that can, hit the weak link or whatever. Mm-hmm. With that said, they are pretty powerful.
Yeah. I mean, to give you an example in lore, Jack Khan was fighting against a whole, basically, battalion of Death Guard. He was killing them left and right, but it only took one blade, which I think nicked him in the back of the knee, in the weakest part of the armor, and that little cut is what basically let the pestilence of Nurgle seep in and weaken him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good question. And it really connects that whole lore to the tabletop, which isn't always a great connection. Next one.
This one's by Destonk333. If you put an Oghren in power armor, would you have a Thunder Warrior?
An Oghren in power armor? No, because Thunder Warriors are still a little bit more logical than an Oghren. An Oghren is just
brute force, no real direction or tactics. You just kind of point him, give him a simple command, and that's all he'll do.
Think of a human elephant.
Yeah. Where the Thunder Warriors were still I don't even know, they're like Space Marines, just not as tactical.
Yeah, like an well, yeah, not as tactical, not as charismatic, not as
cute.
Yeah, you would like a Space Marine if you saw one. You would fear a Thunder Warrior if you saw one. Mm-hmm. So it's the big difference of just one of them is a politician kind of thing, and the other one is just a high-ranking drug lord.
I guess, yeah.
Next question. This one comes from Teeth's Family Kent. Are there any such things as newspapers or TV shows, media outlets for the average Imperial citizen? Yeah.
There is, yeah. Definitely the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, they're always looking to recruit. So that's part of propaganda and media out there. Yeah. Depending on the world that you're on, you're going to see more or less of this. Such if you're on an agri world, probably not as much, as opposed to a whole hive city.
Right, hive cities, you would have your stereotypical stuff. Not in the underhives, which is where GW usually focuses, but the what is it called, the top spire or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically what's the movie?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. There you go.
So think of that, and then also feudal worlds. Mm-hmm. So you have tourneys. You obviously it's
knights and stuff. Yeah.
So, but just instead of knights, you have Imperial Knights.
There you go.
Next question.
This one is by Pubi. Pregunta muchachos. Given that certain Black Templar crusades have started killing off their Primaris Marines and even fighting against the Custodes, do you think that we'll see the beginnings of a civil war? I mean, that happened in the early edition of 9th, 8th, and we haven't seen anything happen from it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is just a piece of lore that has been forgotten by GW, or maybe we'll come back and revisit it. But the thing about the Black Templars being too secrecy and being paranoid, that's always been a thing with them. They're a crusading force that literally will hit, what's the term where they hit their backs and stuff? Whip. Flay. They flay themselves. And they're super fanatics and stuff like that. So anything they deem to be heretical or something not godly or given by the Emperor, they will fight back against. But yeah, we've seen other Space Marine chapters doing some pretty traitorous stuff, such as the Dark Eldar, the Dark Angels, when they assaulted Terra, went into the throne room, just to take out the Fallen. Like, they were literally killing Imperial Guardsmen, they were killing Custodes just to get to the Fallen. That's traitorous. So yeah, we've seen all this, but will it ever lead to something else? Maybe.
Next question comes from Neon Pants Guy 1737. Yes, I'm going to ask the obligatory bacon question that's in your episode. That's in every episode. Would you try orc meat bacon? I would try anything, man. I eat ass. So, yeah, let me try orc bacon.
Yeah, there's nothing this guy's allergic to, so he'll try anything at least once.
That's not true. I think I'm allergic to. I got the Popeyes turkey back like during Thanksgiving, and it turned. I broke out in hives. I almost died.
Wow.
It's pretty bad.
So would that be a Nurgle thing, or would that be...
It'd be a Popeyes thing. Don't get the Popeyes turkey. So would you try the bacon?
Yeah, I'll try it, definitely.
Because basically what an orc is it's a type of lichen. So in other words, you would be eating... Like, you know how the Whopper has, like, the impossible meat? It's kind of like that.
Yeah. This next question is by Shit Show Sean. So the Emperor always wanted humanity to govern themselves. How strong would humans have to be so that we wouldn't need space marines, etc.?
I think as strong as like the bodyguards of Bad Bunny when he's anywhere.
Like, people are throwing phones at celebrities. Not Bad Bunny. He's got bodyguards for that.
Yeah, he has good bodyguards.
Yeah, so basically humanity would have to become almost all psychers, I feel, because they need that extra type of protection when there's no weapon nearby. Shooting mind bullets always is going to trump trying to find a gun, keeping the gun loaded, keeping the gun clean, making sure you've got expert precision. So yeah, definitely humanity has to go leaps and bounds before they can be a self-sufficient ruling nation or empire. We saw them at their height, and even then that wasn't good, because they created the Men of Iron. That's what led to basically the downfall of humanity, to where the Emperor had to step and say, okay, humanity can't do it by themselves. They need me.
Yeah. I agree.
You heard it here first, guys.
Next question comes from Yawaraka Matsu no Bushi.
Dang, you about to summon a demon up in here.
Which chaos god would Donald Trump worship? Zinch, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
That's it.
You heard it here first.
He's so confident in his lies. Where does that confidence comes from? The web of lies, or web of change, they call it. Last question, what you got?
This one's by Talmeda? We'll go with that. If the Primarchs Marines were released during the 30K era, how would that have impacted the future of 40K?
Not much, because 30K was a civil war. So like both sides would have Primarchs.
Yeah. So it'd be the same thing.
Yeah.
Just with like stronger warriors.
Better gene seed, that's it.
Because the gene seed to create Primarchs warriors were from all Space Marines, not just the Loyalists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nope, not much. We'll finish with one more question by Brian123QA. Can I have both of your babies? LOL, just kidding. Great videos. Love you guys. I had money. If I had money, I would throw it at you guys. Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah. You're making me want to give you a baby now.
I know.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. You guys remember that?
Well, Chili's doesn't even, they're not even known for that anymore.
No.
It's just Tex-Mex food.
Yeah.
And their chips.
We're just aging ourselves.
Yeah. And those were the questions for today. Thank you guys so much for sending them our way. And
yeah, keep those questions coming, and so will we, guys. Make sure to put question before your question, because we get to those first. And as always, it's been the Sound Alchemist,
Trish One,
and we are out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.